Hello. Good morning, everyone. My name is Catherine Charles Isaya from Democratic Republic of Congo. Hello. Can you hear? Okay, yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Catherine Charles Isaya from Democratic Republic of Congo. I am a former refugee and teacher from Kakuma refugee camp. And today, I'm here to share my personal story with you and to make a passionate appeal for support for refugee teachers. I grew up as a refugee in Kenya, and it was a challenging experience. The lack of basic necessities, such as few books, whereby the students are more than 100 in a class, it was a challenge. And constant uncertainty about the future made it difficult to dream for a better life. But I was blessed to have a teacher who saw my potential and believed in me. She was more than just educator. She was motivator, encourager, and supporter. Through her unwavering support, I discovered the power of education and how it can change our lives. Inspired by her example, I became a teacher to serve back to my communities, especially for refugees, to support my fellow refugees, young girls to believe in themselves and their future. What I knew is education is a powerful tool for change. And for refugees who have lost everything except their desire to learn, find peace, and rebuild their lives. However, refugee teachers face unique challenges, including limited resources and tough living conditions. But despite all these obstacles, they are dedicated to give quality education to their students. Indeed, these teachers are the heroes of refugees community who deserve support and recognition. I am here today to make a passionate appeal to you to support refugee teachers. Your generosity can make a lasting impact on their lives and work toward creating a world where education is accessible to all. Ladies and gentlemen, let us come together to make this mission of 222 million dreams come through. Once again, I'm Catherine Charles Isaya from Democratic Republic of Congo. Thank you for your time.
Catherine, thank you very much. My name is Dean Brooks, and I'm the director of the Interagency Network for Education in Emergencies. Today, we're gathered to celebrate teachers, to make appeals for teachers. Thank you, Catherine. Catherine Isaya was a teacher and is speaking from experience, and we appreciate that so much. Powerful tool for change, education, the importance of teachers in our lives. So today, we've come together. I'd like to start off and thank the co-organizers of this event, Education International and UNHCR, of course, along with INEE. I'm going to really cut my notes short, even shorter, Charlotte, because I want to hear from teachers today. But just a couple of things to mention. INEE has a working group called Teachers in Crisis Contexts, and I would encourage you to get involved, to visit the website, a number of resources available for you there. And what you'll see is we have a question for you to actually go to and put your answers, because we want to give that back to the working group so they can make a point of working with that. So any questions you have, please take a moment and add them, and we will follow up there. Again, I'm cutting things short so we can get started. But that question for you, what actions do you think the education in emergencies and protected crisis community needs to take to dramatically shift the narrative so that teachers are prioritized? I think we're just going to get started. So I think I saved a minute or two so we can hear from the teachers. So first of all, we're going to be looking at teacher well-being. And we have with us Ms. Manal Hdaife, a principal in Lebanon, and Camilla Lodi, NRC's Global Psychosocial Support Head of Unit. So I would like to hand the floor to you, Manal.
Okay, thanks a lot, my colleague. And I will begin. As a teacher and a union leader, I know that the proper implementation of the education process lies on the holistic well-being of teachers and students. The social, emotional, and physical health of teachers is a critical component of students' learning and overall community well-being. Also, teachers' working conditions will always be linked to a child's learning conditions. If the former is not considered, the latter will suffer. In countries facing emergencies like the Arab region, whether they are armed conflicts, massive inflows of refugees and migrants, or disasters, they are at a disadvantage in coping and responding due to the existing fundamental problems and the weakness of education systems. This is the case of nearly 50% of the Arabic region. As a chair of the Arabic Countries Committee in Education International, it's important for me to highlight some challenges and list a few from the region. There is the war in Yemen, in Syria, the conflict in Palestine. The exercise of trade union rights is limited, like in Bahrain. In Tunisia, for example, teachers and workers exercising their rights have been increasing targeted. Many have been arrested, and the percentage of cases filed against union members rose in 22, with a quarter of them directed against women. The inflation has led to a decline in an already low salaries in the region. Teachers in Morocco are struggling to make ends meet at the end of the month. Last but not least, I will shed the light on the Lebanese situation. The country is facing multiple crises: an economic collapse, a severe depression, and a weak response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Lebanese pound has lost 90% of its value, and the country's annual rate of inflation is high and out of control. The salary of the teacher before the crisis used to range between $1,500 to $2,000. After the crisis, it has dropped to below $50, and today, for me, as a director of an official school, my salary is $30. Teachers have been on strike for a long time, denouncing extremely difficult working conditions, inadequate healthcare coverage, lack of pay, and lack of support to adapt the changing needs of their students. Public schools are closed. 350,000 Lebanese students and 170,000 Syrian refugee students are without education, along with 60,000 teachers striking in the streets, demanding minimum living conditions. Despite the efforts made by the Ministry of Education and the UN agencies and international organizations to ensure the continuation of education, the situation is still dire. Too often, we teachers are taken for granted, promoted as innovative and resilient, and thus it is assumed that we will be able to adapt to whatever challenges come our way. The Lebanese government and the international donor community must do all they can to ensure schools stay open in Lebanon and consequently ensure the quality education for the future of our generations. In doing this, we must minimize the burden on teachers by fully supporting them to deliver the education that all children deserve, including refugee children. Finally, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to raise the voice of those teachers, and I'm one of them, working in difficult conditions, and I wish that their voice could be heard. We are waiting for the solidarity and support from all the unions, policymakers, and other stakeholders who are present with us here. Go public, fund education. Education cannot wait. And if you please, my colleagues, I will ask my colleague Camilla. Research demonstrated that teaching is one of the most stressful professions. This stress is amplified in crisis and conflict countries. Teachers here work often without professional development, support, certification, compensation, or equality working conditions. Teachers are students' greatest resource, not the building, not the computer, and so on. This was greatly demonstrated during the pandemic as well. So my question, what do you think are the priority concrete actions that should be taken to enhance the well-being of teachers working in emergency context? Thank you.
Thanks, Manal. I hope you can hear me. My voice is very low, but I'm really happy to be in this panel together with precious colleagues and teachers who are in the front line working every day with children. So good morning to all. Let me go straight to the point by saying that there is no learning without taking care of well-being of teachers, and of course, well-being of children. As Manal mentioned, COVID-19 has made us realize how vital it is to include psychosocial support into any education in emergency intervention. Just to give you an example, NRC during that period had to scale up its classroom PSS intervention, the Better Learning Program, by 40% in the number of countries that we were operating. Last year, 35 governments, INGOs, UN have signed on the Nordic Mental Health PSS Declaration, committing to scale up mental health PSS and to treat it as a human right. So with that said, what is available in terms of teachers' well-being? INE carried out mapping exercises, identifying 130 resources on teachers' well-being, with two major problems. One, that most of them were not fit for the purpose, and secondly, there was no space for those practices in policies. So basically, what are we talking about when we say teacher well-being? We're talking about professional conditions, compensation, professional development, job satisfaction, otherwise leading to stress and burnout. So for all of these components to be embedded, included, we need space in policy and programming to prioritize teachers' well-being, and for government and clusters to clearly outline what contributes to teachers' well-being and what are the risk factors if we do not include it inside our programming. So INE Teachers' Wellbeing Guidance Note provides an important framework for this. So for example, NRC in Palestine has been contextualizing this guidance note together with cluster colleagues, government, Ministry of Education, stakeholders, to exactly make the space for this to take place inside schools with teachers and through teachers. I would like to say that, okay, in NRC, we apply self-care routines through our Better Learning Program, but I would like to conclude by just a personal experience of applying the 5 universal research principles of recovery through the Better Learning Program. We were last month in one of the bomb shelters in Ukraine, applying a Better Learning Program with teachers and recognizing that we need to allow, to give the space to process all that the teachers are going through. That we need to make sure that this is embedded inside program. I would finally end by a beautiful, profound quote by Vietnamese monk Thich Nhat Hanh, saying that there is no way to peace. Peace is the way. Similarly, we can say that there are no shortcuts to well-being. And we cannot do education in emergency without psychosocial support and well-being of teachers being integrated inside programming. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Camilla and Manal. I'd like to turn now to the second part of our roundtable, and we're going to be looking at inclusive policies for refugee teachers. And we have with us Mr. Nestori, a refugee teacher and advocate from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Mohamud Hure, who works with UNHCR as an education officer. Mr. Nestori, I'll hand the floor to you.
Thank you very much. My name is Nestori. I'm a former refugee and a teacher from Kakuma refugee camp. I've worked as a refugee teacher for 5 years in Greenlight Secondary School. As a former refugee teacher from Kakuma refugee camp, I've personally experienced the challenges that come with teaching in the refugee camp, with very few resources and support for both teachers and students. The class sizes were large. As a teacher, you handle, in the Kakuma context, is quite a unique one. Over 120 students in the class, and all of them have only hope that they will get the quality education. And because of the huge classrooms, Kakuma refugee camp was able to adapt another system to make sure to accommodate more students who seek education. That a given set of students come in the morning, they go in the afternoon. Then another set of students in Form 1, there are 4 classes, another Form 2, 4 classes. They come in the afternoon, go in the evening. But as they change, the teachers remain the same. The pay was low. All the 5 years I've worked as a refugee teacher in the Kakuma refugee camp, my salary was $70. The difficulties we faced as refugee teachers were compounded by the fact that many of us were not trained. In 2018, 15 out of 120 teachers who applied for MasterCard scholarship were accepted. I was lucky to be among the 15 teachers who were accepted. Graduating with recognized teacher diploma from Kenyatta University, it didn't change my salary. It will be important to treat refugee teachers as national teachers, because our students do not differentiate, and they don't want to differentiate between who is a refugee teacher and who is a national teacher. They see us as role model. They see us as inspiration. They see us as source of hope. I strongly believe that education is a right for all children. But let's start support those who provide that education. Those are part, the refugee teachers. Refugee teachers, as my colleague had said before, they are part of the unsung heroes. They work in difficult environments. They travel, some of them, long distances. Kakuma is a desert place. But refugee teachers are committed to assist and give back to the communities. I believe many of them today who could not manage to be here, they are listening to me, and they have hope that I will represent them. And they have hope that after this conference, they will see the change. Because I'm lucky to be one of their voices that many of the times are not heard. I will ask UNHCR with its partners through Mohamud Hure, if refugee teachers were treated the same way as the national teachers, how could the difficulties of lack of recognition of experience and low pay be addressed? I would really like refugee teachers to hear what are some of the interventions UNHCR has for the refugee teachers. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nestori. It's really great to reconnect here. I worked in Kakuma refugee camp for many years, so it's really amazing to also hear your perspective and the very great and personal way you have articulated your experience as a refugee teacher. We've heard, Manal, we've heard Catherine today, but these are the experiences of so many of them who are out there and who go out every day to work in some of the most difficult of classrooms. Let's take a moment to think about what it means to stand in front of a class with 120, with 200 children, but also think of the teacher who is doing that and the sacrifices that they are making. I will also reflect a little bit before I respond to Nestori's question on my experience. I know this too well as someone who has worked as a teacher in a refugee camp. I've seen firsthand the challenges that refugee teachers face on a daily basis. As we have heard, it is an incredibly difficult job, but an important one, because the future of millions of children who are displaced depend on it. Years later, when I left teaching, I went to work with UNHCR. So I was on the other side. But in that role, I have come to appreciate the nightmare of every humanitarian education practitioner: funding shortfalls, sudden budget cuts, changing priorities. And communicating these challenges, these funding shortfalls, to the community I served was some of the most organizing moments of my career, particularly telling a dedicated and a passionate teacher that they will not have a contract to continue due to the funding shortfall. When children are displaced, they not only leave their homes, they have to abandon their school, they have to leave their studies. And the only resource they have, sometimes, and in many cases, is the teacher. I've seen children who have lost everything, who learn in these very overcrowded classrooms, but light up with joy, with hope, when they enter a classroom and are greeted by a caring and dedicated teacher like the ones that we have here. But coming to the question, I think despite the very entrenched and sometimes seemingly intractable challenges that refugee teachers face, we have seen some encouraging progress in recent years. The Global Compact on Refugees has provided a framework for international burden and responsibility sharing. And we have seen many countries with few resources, put in place, progressive policies. The Djibouti Declaration by IGAD member countries, has, explicitly, drawn attention on the need to include refugee teachers in member countries' national education systems. These are really important developments, But at the same time, we need to match what the GCR, the Global Compact on Refugees, espouses, the burden sharing. You know, in the Dadaab and Kakuma, the Kenyan government have hosted refugees for over 30 years, nearly 30 years. It's an incredible generosity. But do they really get the resources and the support they need to effectively include refugee children and teachers? We have seen some promising examples in countries like Uganda, Rwanda, Ethiopia, and many others, which have taken steps to integrate refugees in their national education systems. So, for example, in Kenya, where I was, the government extended and included refugee teachers in the training of a rollout of a new competency-based curriculum. Chad supports refugee teachers access to certified teacher training programs. In neighboring European countries receiving large numbers of Ukrainian refugees, teacher unions, governments have taken steps to support displaced teachers. At the Transforming Education Summit, there was increased visibility and a spotlight on the needs of displaced teachers. Teachers and related issues are gaining attention across many organizations, including the one that I represent here today, but also, you know, many of those organizations that are here. I think there is need to harness this momentum and translate it into action. But we must recognize that progress has been very slow. I'm afraid to say that the needle has not moved much for refugee teachers, especially in protracted refugee situations. The challenges in Kakuma and the Dadaab refugee camps that refugees grappled with 3 decades ago when the camps were set up are the same ones that we've had here today. Whenever I visit refugee schools and classrooms, I ask children how many of them want to become teachers. Oftentimes, very few hands or no hands at all go up. When children see how their teachers struggle, I understand why they will not want to become teachers tomorrow. What is required is really to move from words to action, from commitment to fulfillment, and to ensure that humanitarian and development financing works for refugees and teachers in crisis context. We need stronger advocacy, we need more resources to remove their invisibility. It's really time for us to act. We cannot wait another decade again to come back to our conference, to convene together in a conference like this and talk about the same challenges. But what can we really do? I think we need to increase refugee teachers' access to professional development opportunities. We need to provide them with fair remuneration, and we really need to facilitate their recognition. Education for millions of children who are caught up in displacement will only be transformed if there is better, more dependable, predictable, multi-year support and funding for refugee teachers. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohamud. Words to action, exactly. And that's going to be what our next panel is going to talk to us a bit about. So I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Garang Deng, a teacher and union leader from South Sudan, and he'll be talking with Susan Hopgood, the president of Education International. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Protocol remain observed. Best greeting to you all. Speaking here is Garang Deng, Chairman of National Teachers Union of South Sudan. On behalf of teachers in the Republic of South Sudan, allow me to pass my greetings and appreciation to the leadership of Education Cannot Wait, Education International globally, and African Regional Office for their continued support, which made it possible for South Sudanese teachers to be represented in this conference. I also wish to acknowledge the effort made by National Education Coalition by sponsoring the formation of a steering committee for the first time in the history of South Sudan. Without support from above-mentioned organizations, it is impossible for us to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, Teachers Union of South Sudan has been established late after independence, passing through difficulties in various stages through the support of National Education Coalition, which mobilized teachers in order to prepare the ground for the Convention of Teachers to take place. The formation of Teachers Union is very important, not only for the teachers, but for the whole nation, international community, development partners, and donors. The presence of a strong union may raise the voices of teachers in regard to their rights. For us in the Republic of South Sudan to provide quality education for all, it will not be possible without teachers being considered in terms of their well-being, motivation, and provision of other basic rights required for their daily life. On this juncture, I wish to pass my appreciation to the government through current Minister of General Education and Instruction for a strong move aimed to increase salaries of teachers from 100 to 140% in the year 2022. Despite this increment, their wages remain low compared to the living condition, while teachers are still discharging their duties in classroom. And because of these difficulties, many teachers are leaving their profession, looking for other jobs with a good salary in terms of payment. Distinguished guests, as the world is campaigning for free education, as a part of SDG 4, South Sudan, as a new state, is also joining the world on the same campaign. But this initiative will not achieve itself the way people were expecting. The simple reason which discouraging the free education is the level of support and motivation made for the teachers in classroom. Teachers' prioritization is a central element in driving quality education cycle, especially in conflict-affected zones. They were not supported in terms of shelters and other necessary material useful for teaching programs. In conclusion, my last appreciation goes to the donors and people who initiated these projects for positive effort aimed to support education in South Sudan. On this issue, I want to ask the leader responsible for this event, especially EI President, Susan Hopgood. How can development partners support my countries to ensure regular and adequate payment of teachers' salary? The reason for me to ask this question, as we are speaking in the Republic of South Sudan, even though the increment has been made by the government, the salary of a graduate new is not exceeding more than $50 for a month. And this $50 for a month is not even equivalent to the transport of 10 days. So it is dangerous for the teachers to continue going to the work while the payment is still low. This is a question as responsible for the teachers, for us to ensure we are working our duties in classroom. What are the approach your organization is preferring to ensure regular and adequate payment for the teachers in country affected, but especially in my country, South Sudan? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Garang, for that very important question. From our perspective, as a global federation with teacher organisations in 178 countries around the globe, we are acutely aware of the struggles borne by teachers and education support personnel in crisis-affected countries. Unfortunately, many teacher unions report similar experiences to yours. In addition to your country, reports of teachers going for months without pay have been received from our member organisations in Yemen, Nigeria, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, to name a few. As we've heard from our colleagues, or from Manal this morning, the average teacher salary in Lebanon is now just $30 per month, which, when teachers can access their full remuneration, which is not always the case, is barely enough to cover even the minimum costs of a teacher's family for a couple of days. In Afghanistan, our members report that teachers face severe barriers to obtaining their salaries, delays of many months, especially in the rural areas, the need to travel long distances to collect the funds, and issues with banks not dispersing them at all. Yesterday, EI launched with others, we launched an Afghan Teachers' Rights Observatory in order to monitor the working conditions of teachers there. These are just a few examples out of very many. They are among the most severe manifestations of a global crisis of accountability that has led Education International to mount a global campaign to support full funding of quality public education for all. Governments must be held accountable to protect and ensure this right. And as the backbone of quality education systems, teachers must be a priority investment. To attract and retain highly qualified and well-trained teachers, governments must invest in teacher salaries, decent salaries, and working conditions for teachers, but also quality training, professional development, safety at work, teacher well-being and support. We are calling on all governments to increase domestic investment in education and teachers, and on development partners to support ECW and ensure that at least 20% of development aid goes to education. However, where education systems have been overwhelmed by emergencies such as conflict or climate change, students cannot be denied their right to education. We welcome the inclusion of teachers as a programmatic priority in Education Cannot Wait's strategic plan. Now, we need to identify concrete ways to put this plan into operation. Education International is calling for the establishment of a dedicated international funding mechanism to support the payment of teacher salaries in emergency contexts. Last September, in the lead-up to the Transforming Education Summit, TES, we brought together representatives of international organisations, donors and the philanthropic community to discuss how such a funding facility could work in practice, preferably within existing funding mechanisms. We are ready to continue and widen this conversation around a few basic principles: the critical role of teachers in ensuring continuity of education during emergencies, the need to ensure teachers in crisis contexts right to decent salaries and working conditions, respect for teachers' professionalism, the participation of teachers in designing effective education policies and strategies, and equal and fair treatment of all teachers, regardless of their gender, background or refugee status. Without teachers, quality education in crisis contexts is simply a false hope. And that is why we cannot wait to take action to ensure teachers' timely, regular and sufficient salaries in crisis contexts. Education cannot wait means that teachers cannot either. Thank you.
Thank you. In just a moment, I'm going to ask the panelists to share one point. But before I do that, and that will be our closing, so you have a little time to think about that. But before I do that, I'd like to turn the floor for some closing remarks from Dr. Heike Kuhn, the head of division at the Education at Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development in Germany. She's been listening attentively, and she has some points to share. Please come.
Good morning to all of you, and thank you for having me here. I'm speaking to you, Dean said it, I'm the head of the division of the education head of division of education in my ministry, but I'm also speaking to you, I'm the co-chair of the teacher task force now, together with a colleague from South Africa. So we are especially interested in the well-being or in the situation of teachers. First of all, I want to pay respect to you. I've been listening really carefully. I know about teachers, but it's always, it's always so impressive if you meet them and you hear their stories from the ground, what I heard from Lebanon, from Congo, from the refugee places where you are. I understand. This is what comes to me. You struggle. You stand there in front of, in the most severe conditions, in front of 120 young persons looking at you, up to you. You are not well paid. You are at the forefront. Your working conditions are bad, and you are as much as left behind as the children are left behind. And nevertheless, you are you are a role model. You are there. You shall be there on stage like an actor to give them hope. So this is nearly not a possible way, and a lot of you do this. I have seen the South Sudanese teacher at the TAS. I've been there, and she was such a brilliant leader. So you are leaders, and we need you. This is what I listened now here being in this room. So what can we do? We as governments, or what are we already doing? You are here at the big high-level financing conference of ECW. You have seen my government. We have so much hope also and trust in ECW. And on the new strategic plan, we have put teachers in, and also where is a constituency bringing the voice to teacher, raising the voice of teachers in our meetings of the executive committee, and we are listening carefully, and they are raising their voices. So this is good. We also here in Geneva, there's the ILO, Susan just mentioned it. We work together on the decent conditions of teachers, and I can just motivate you. Speak out, be loud, just what you're doing here, reach the politicians, reach the donors, reach the international institutions. There has something to happen, because we are now not so far away from 2030, and these children cannot learn, education cannot function without teachers. We just heard this very powerful from Susan. So I will bring this impressive moment of this morning session here back to my country, and I can really say what I will do. I will still work on. Please contact us wherever you need your help. Within the teacher task force, we do also, and with others, we are working on the rights of teachers, on the well-being of teachers. The psychological support is so important. We are working on toolkits, but you please contact us, and I'll take this with me, really, from a donor's perspective, to think about the teachers, integrate teachers as much, because there is no learning without teachers. The best teachers will bring you forward and will bring forward the talents we want to reach. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Heike. So I'm going to be knocking on your door. So I'd like to turn back to the panel. This panel is for you. Not often do teachers get the floor, and I'm so happy that this happened here at ECW. At TESS, a key theme, the Transforming Education Summit, a key theme was to increase respect for the teaching workforce. We've heard from teachers today, and I'm asking you to share one idea with us that we can leave with and take words into action, as we heard today. Can I go starting with Camilla and work our way down?
Yeah, so I think that listening to all of us, it's like if we have different pieces of a puzzle. And so if all of those pieces are not well structured in a holistic type of approach, starting from teachers' compensation, capacity development, this holistic approach needs to cater in psychosocial support and, again, look into the well-being of teachers with research-based evidence approaches.
Thank you. Manal.
Yes, for me, I want to say some words that Thanks for Your Excellency that hearing the voices of the teachers all around the world. And for me, this session, maybe in the conference, it's the most important session because it's talking about the teachers after my colleague Stella yesterday. So I want to say that we want to move to action plans, not saying words only and staying here. And really, we want the teachers to be involved in all of the discussions and with the donors, with the international committees, so our voice will be heard. And I want, if you please, to give a warm clapping for all of the teachers. They are suffering all around the world, especially in the Arabic countries. So please give them a warm clapping. Thank you.
Thank you. I will say, whenever we design programs, let us include provision for teacher salaries and stipends. It's not, someone else's responsibility. It's our responsibility, because oftentimes teachers who are refugees or who are displaced are not part of national plans. They're not part of national budgets. They're not part of national programs. They are outside. So I think this is what I will say. But also I will say that anything that we do, however small it is, it will make a difference. And let's continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to hear all the voices of the government bodies and all the organization, the international organizations who listen to the refugee teachers, who listen to teachers across the world and think that what can they do to support them. And what I can only say as my final remarks is, as teachers in the crisis, as I had said before, that they are committed to support the students, and they are committed to work at any given time. For many of us, if you go to the internet and look how Kakuma is, you really wonder to see the situation there. When it shines, or the sun, during the sun season or the snow rain, you admire the rain. But when it rains, you admire the sun. So that is how unique it is. And but as a teacher, you make sure that there is a class that I'm supposed to attend. And you don't look at all these situations, the difficulties that you're facing. So if we can really support the teachers, I'm sure we shall be committed to offer the quality education to the refugees and to the students. Refugees, the teachers are the engines of this education. And these students trust them. We spend a lot of time with the students, more than they spend with their parents. They have trust in us. They look up to us. And we have only one option, is to offer quality education. How shall we offer quality education if we ourselves are not empowered? If we ourselves, the teachers, are not equipped with the proper trainings, with the proper tools? It's only fair that if we ensure that we want to provide the quality education to these children in the crisis, we have to start also with the teachers. Thank you so much.
Well, governments and development partners should ensure that children in crisis and emergency contexts are taught by highly trained, professionally qualified and supported teachers with decent working conditions, adequate and regular salaries. So we encourage you to join us in our quest for a funding mechanism for teachers in emergency contexts. As education cannot wait, teachers cannot wait.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Did you want to say something?
Yes. I only need to focus on 2 points. According to the best of my experience, the organizations, international level, are investing a lot of money on education. But in the most cases, this money invested in education will not utilize in the proper way, and the people will not receive the quality education as we want it. For me to make sure that fund has been utilized well, we need to focus on empowerment of teachers' union in all countries. Mm-hmm. Because teachers' union, when it is strong, it will help you to see the money has been utilized in the proper manner. Yeah. Second to it, we also need teachers, their problems to be handled by the organization. In the most cases, the organization are busy with the material, physical infrastructure, and other teaching and learning aids. And they leave the issue of teachers to be the national issues. When it remains for the government, it will cause the professional dropout. Mm-hmm. So for any fund release, we need teachers to be considered together as the important element in achieving the quality education. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to ECW for making this space, to Charlotte Bergen for the incredible organization of this panel. This is critical, teachers. I would encourage all of you to visit inee.org, where you can visit and you can find the Teachers in Emergency Crisis Context Working Group and the many resources, the Teacher Wellbeing Packet, which has been translated in many languages. And we will continue this discussion, and we will turn words into actions. It's a great slogan, yeah. Thank you, everyone, for your time and for caring about teachers.